So far today, it's been, Sanjay, the deadliest day in the United States so far. So far, just today, 237 deaths here in the United States. And by our count, the United States has now surpassed Italy in deaths. The U.S. now has almost 81,000 coronavirus deaths. You see, excuse me, not deaths, cases, I should say. Right. These are cases worldwide. 80,837 cases of coronavirus here in the United States compared to Italy, 80,589. China still slightly ahead with 81,782 cases, but the U.S. is expected to surpass China fairly soon. The president, on the other hand, he was once again pretty upbeat. He says, hopefully this won't be a problem too much longer. We're making a lot of progress. We will vanquish this virus. Once again, he's trying to give hope to the American people at a time when these numbers of these confirmed cases and deaths here in the United States continue to explode.
Yeah, it's very hard to look at those numbers and say, hey, look, we're heading in the right direction, that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, this will end. I mean, to be clear, at some point. I think it's just a question of when and how significant the measures have to be. Look, when you compare the U.S. numbers to China numbers, it's worth remembering as well. They're, I think, 4 times or so our population as well. So the infection rate in the country, obviously, in the United States, much higher than what China was now. So that's a perspective you have to keep in mind. Wolf, what these public health officials are looking at in terms of the data, the numbers, obviously, but I think almost more importantly is the pace at which the numbers are changing. People refer to this as the doubling time. A lot of people are probably looking this up over the last couple of days. How quickly are these cases doubling? How quickly are these hospitalizations doubling? And how quickly are these sad deaths doubling as well? And when you look at that, and it's a low doubling time, your concern is that this has acceleration. Well, if it's kind of like, think of a big ship in the ocean. It's going a certain speed, but if you hit the brakes on it, it's going to take a while for that to slow down. So it's the inertia you've got to take out of this. And there's no evidence that we have that yet. They say, look at the data. Well, we're looking at the data. The data doesn't look very promising. It will one day, but not right now.
Yeah, and Sanjay, what jumped out at you from what we heard from the president? Because earlier in the day, he said he wanted some new specific data to show which counties in the United States are at high risk, medium risk, and low risk. He clearly wants to get huge parts of the United States off all this social distancing and back to work.
Look, you know, I think that that's a real concern, a real problem to do that. And part of this is just looking at what the data is that does exist already. Keep in mind that in many of these places where you say there's not that many cases, well, they just haven't done testing yet. I know we've said that 1,000 times probably now, Wolf, but if you haven't done the testing, you don't know really what's going on there. So you have to start extrapolating. And keep in mind, Wolf, you know, a month ago there were 60 cases in the country. There are now over 66,000 in a month. That you talked about the number of deaths. There were 149 deaths a week ago. And now we're having we have more deaths in a single day than we had in the entire time last week. So the concern is that in these rural areas, the numbers will continue to grow, like we've seen in Michigan, like we've seen in Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, increasing by 20% a day. And the numbers that we have now, not only do they reflect inadequate testing, they're also behind the curve. They're showing a picture from 10 to 14 days ago. Of course, things were better then. This is spreading. If you start to let people go back too soon, Wolf, I'm worried that it's just going to erase a lot of the gains that we've made. There's some evidence of progress. I'm worried that'll be erased.
You know, to understand, and Sanjay, I want your reaction to this, because a month ago, and I remember it vividly, and we have the soundbite from the president, he said, well, there may be 15 cases, and pretty soon it's going down to 0. Well, instead of going down to 0, the number of cases I just put up there are incredibly high, 180,000 plus right now, and more. And there you can see it right now, almost 81,000 cases in the United States right now, and 1,100 Americans are dead. So the question is, why should anyone trust the president when he gives this upbeat assessment right now, when he was so wrong in saying that there were 15 cases and pretty soon, within a few days, they're going to go down to 0. Instead, they've exploded here in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, look, that clearly didn't go the way that he said it was going to go. We're going to be down to 0. I was at that press conference. it's going to go down to zero. I think, look, I know the public health officials absolutely did not think that was the case. I know those public health officials were guiding and telling the president this. So, I think he was trying to paint a rosy picture for things. And look, we saw what's happened in Italy, what continues to happen there, and in Spain, similar sort of scenarios. People not taking this seriously, thinking this is something that is not going to affect me. It's over in China and that part of the world, and not realizing that viruses don't respect boundaries or borders. Wolf, I'm sorry, this was predictable, okay? I mean, we keep saying this is an unknown new virus, true. But there's a lot of this that was predictable and known. It was known how widespread this could become. It was known what would be necessary in the country to protect healthcare workers and protect citizens, how many ventilators would be necessary, how many hospital beds, how many ICU beds. We were showing these projections 2 months ago, Wolf, on CNN. I put those up to say, hey, look, this is what we say that's going to be needed, and this is what we have. The two numbers don't match up. So, yeah, you can imagine it's pretty frustrating, I think, for a lot of people in the public health community to say, we bought this time. What did we do with it? Did we use it wisely?
Yeah, and it's all this unfolding on a day, Daniel Dale, I want you to come into this conversation. You're our fact checker. On a day that's so far the deadliest day in the United States as far as the coronavirus pandemic is concerned. So far, just today, 237 deaths, the deadliest day so far, and the U.S. now surpassing Italy in the most cases, about to surpass China, I suspect. What jumped out at you as you were listening to the president?
Wolf, this was a barrage of false claims, some of which we hear at his campaign rallies, like the claim that the U.S. has never before received 10 cents in tariff revenue from tariffs on China. But even if we just look at the coronavirus-related stuff, this was a lot of stuff that was not true. For example, Trump denounced what he called fake news and corrupt news over a story about Washington Governor Jay Inslee today, telling Trump, we don't need a backup on medical supplies, we need Tom Brady. And Trump said that was fake news and corrupt news, and then he confirmed the story. He said Inslee did say that, but he said it in a positive way. Trump also claimed repeatedly that everybody wants to go back to work. People want things reopened fast. I think when Trump says everybody and doesn't cite any data, we have to look at the data. The polling data we've seen so far shows that there is strong, very large majority support for closures, for school closures, restaurant closures, sporting event closures. And so Trump's claim that everybody wants to very quickly go back is not necessarily supported by what we're actually seeing on the ground. Trump also said the restaurant industry, he said all restaurants will be back, maybe under different ownership. That is not what we're hearing from the restaurant industry. They say that a prolonged closure could be catastrophic for them. So many of the things Trump said, Wolf, are just not grounded in reality here.
Let me bring Gloria into this conversation as well. Gloria, once again, the president saying we're making a lot of progress. We will vanquish this virus. Hopefully, it won't be a problem too much longer. Almost all of the healthcare experts say that's not true. This is going to be a problem for quite a while.
Right. And while he paints this rosy scenario, he kept saying over and over again, I'm hearing from people, we need to open this country up. We need to, our people want to work. We want to open it up.